EASIT, Easy Access for Social Inclusion Training.
This is Unit 1, Media Accessibility, Element 2, Disability Models, Video Lecture Language on Disability. I am Anna Matamala from Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, and in this lecture I will be discussing the terms used to talk about disability. The National Center on Disability and Journalism, NCDJ, at Arizona State University has produced a disability language style guide which provides some relevant advice. The basic guidelines include the following advice, and I quote: refer to disability only when it's relevant to the story and when the diagnosis comes from a reputable source, such as a medical profession or other licensed professional. When possible, use people first language unless otherwise indicated by the source. When possible, ask the source how he or she would like to be described. If the source is not available or unable, ask a trusted family member or relevant organization that represents people with disabilities. Avoid made-up words like diversability and handicapable unless using them in direct quotes or to refer to a movement and organization. End of quote. The style guide includes a glossary. Let's have a look at some of those terms. Identity first language versus people first language. With identity first language, the disability is mentioned first. With people first language, people are mentioned first. For instance, Down syndrome girl versus girl with Down syndrome. With people first language, the focus is put on the persons. This is the approach taken in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, UNCRPD for short. And the idea behind this choice is that the person's disability should not be focused on, that people should not be reduced to their disability. However, some persons with disabilities prefer identity first language. Disability is seen as an identity category that they embrace. The same way someone is a Chinese woman or a bisexual woman, she may also be a disabled woman. She belongs to a wider cultural group. This is often the choice of autistic and deaf communities who will mainly use identity first language and may prefer not to refer to themselves as disabled. Taking into account the two different approaches, it is good to ask people how they want to be referred to. If this is not possible, NCDJ recommendation suggests using people first language. Blind, legally blind, limited vision, low vision, partially sighted, visually impaired. Blind or legally blind are terms used for people with almost complete vision loss. To refer to other people with sight loss, the recommendation is to ask about their preferences. Limited vision or low vision may be used. Partially sighted has the same meaning but is mostly used in British publications. Sometimes visually impaired is also used, but some may object to it as it describes the condition in terms of a deficiency. The Royal National Institute of Blind People, RNIB in the UK, often uses the term sight loss, as it is a concise way to describe a wide range of sight conditions, followed by alternatives such as sight or eye condition, blind and partially sighted people, people affected by sight loss, blind or blindness, partial sight, low vision, and people living with little or no sight. They consider that the term visually impaired is more commonly used by professionals in the health, social care, and education sectors. Deaf, hard of hearing, hearing impaired, hearing impairment. Deaf and hard of hearing are the official terms recognized by both the International Federation of Hard of Hearing and the World Federation of the Deaf since 1991. Deaf is often written with a capital D to refer to the culture and community of deaf people. Deaf people with a capital D have generally been deaf all their lives or since before they started to learn to talk, and generally communicate in sign language as their first language. A lowercase d is used to refer to the audiological status. Some people prefer to write down D, capital letter / D, lowercase, to include both approaches. Hard of hearing may refer to people who have a mild to moderate hearing loss, which may or may not be corrected with amplification. These people usually use speech to communicate, and sometimes people who are deaf and do not feel a cultural affiliation to the deaf community prefer the term hard of hearing. And similarly, people with mild or moderate hearing loss may prefer the term deaf. Hearing impaired or hearing impairment are terms that are sometimes used, but many people dislike them because the focus is put on what the person can or cannot do. And actually, the World Federation of the Deaf does not support the use. In parallel to persons with sight loss, a possibility would be to refer to people with hearing loss. NCDJ recommends using deaf for those with total hearing loss, and for others, partial hearing loss or partially deaf is preferred. Down syndrome. NCDJ recommends using people first language. Someone is a person with Down syndrome, is living with Down syndrome, or has Down syndrome. Terms such as suffers from or is afflicted with should be avoided. Other terms such as cognitive disability or intellectual disability are acceptable if they are used in people first contexts. For instance, the person has an intellectual disability. However, it is more accurate to refer specifically to Down syndrome if it has been medically diagnosed. Dyslexia, dyslexic. It is recommended to refer to someone as having dyslexia rather than referring to him or her as a dyslexic person. The use of dyslexic as a noun, for instance, she is dyslexic, should also be avoided. The NCDJ guide contains many more terms that we invite you to check. Language is important, and you should be aware of the implications of the choice you make. Language is also evolving, so I recommend that you check on any further developments in the terminology, on the specificities of each language, and most importantly, on the preferences of the people involved. I would like to mention that sometimes the term diverse users is used in standards as an overarching term, including, and I quote the definition, individuals with differing abilities and characteristics or accessibility needs. Please notice that the focus is not put on the specific disability, but on the diverse abilities and the user needs. This video lecture has been prepared by Anna Matamala from Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona. You can reach me at anna.matamala@uab.cat.
The project EASIT has received funding from the European Commission under the Erasmus Plus Strategic Partnerships for Higher Education Programme, Grant Agreement 2018-1 ES01 KA203 05275. The European Commission's support for the production of this publication does not constitute an endorsement of the contents, which reflect the views only of the authors, and the Commission cannot be held responsible for any use which may be made of the information contained therein. This work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Share Alike 4.0 International License. Partners of the EASIT project: Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, Università degli Studi di Trieste, Universidade de Vigo, Stiftung Universität Hildesheim, SDI München, Dyslexie Verbundet, Radio Televizija Slovenija, Zavod RISA. EASIT, Easy Access for Social Inclusion Training.